how do you stack the odds in your favor when you are running paid media, when you're running online ads, when you're using something like YouTube or Facebook? How do you slant or skew the odds in your favor in terms of making your campaigns work? That's what we're going to talk about today. And back with none other than John Mulry. John is going to actually share four different tactics, two for Facebook and two for YouTube, to again slant the odds in your favor on Facebook and YouTube if you are running ads. So, first and foremost, what's up, John?
What's happening, Todd? How are you?
So I'm great, man, and I'm super excited. I was looking forward to this call, knowing that we're going to get a little tactical. We've talked a lot about playing the economics game. We've talked about performance metrics versus financial metrics. We've talked about, letting campaigns run longer, understanding the monetization window. Now we're going to get practical. Now we're going to get into some tactical stuff that folks can actually do. And I know that you said that you got some stuff to share, so you're gonna take over in a second. But you said these are odds enhancers that you actually use with clients to improve the performance of campaigns, to skew the odds again in their favor or your favor when running these campaigns. And so, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, like these are things that we add to all existing campaigns on Facebook. We have many. We have something like maybe 12 or 13 in total across both Facebook and YouTube, maybe sometimes more. But I wanted to share these four specific ones, two for Facebook and two for YouTube, because they can have a big impact and they're ones that not a lot of people are currently using.
I love it, man. So let's do it. Let's just jump right in, man, feet first. And so go for it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing these myself, man.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Put together a little mini presentation, nothing fancy, but these are our four odds enhancers. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep, perfect.
So I'm going to start with the first ones, which are for Meta and Facebook specifically. And the first one is in how we structure our campaigns at the beginning. We use a master ad set strategy and the post ID ad strategy. So what that essentially is we put all of our creatives into one master ad set that's always off, and then we that's where we do like we that when we add new creatives, we add them into that master ad set, and then we add them into our other ad sets, and then we can take them out and switch between good ads and bad ads very, very seamlessly. But the reason why we do that is because we get to leverage the post ID ad strategy. So what the post ID ad strategy is essentially one of the things that we look for in our ads, like we talked about in one of the previous episodes, is we're looking for what we call a legacy ad. It's an ad that gets longevity. And their ads, there's a lot of the issues with Facebook ads. It comes down to the burnout of the ads and the ad fatigue in the platform because people are constantly scrolling, constantly scrolling. Well, with a legacy ad, we can actually get an ad that gets a lot of longevity and ad fatigue becomes less of an issue. And one of the big um, deciding factors on whether you have a legacy ad is how much engagement that ad gets and how much comments, likes, shares, and how much the platform actually sees that ad as a useful piece of content. So by leveraging the post ID strategy, we could have, say, in this example here, I don't know, there's like 12 different ad sets in that, and we're leveraging like multiple ads in each one of those ad sets. But by leveraging the post ID strategy, there may only be six master ads, but then each of those ads are in all of the different ad sets. So let's say one of those ads out of the six is, let's say the type of ad doesn't really matter, but let's say that ad takes off and it's getting like in one of the ad sets, it's getting lots of comments, but then in another ad set, it's not getting any comments. So then in one ad set, it's doing really well, but in the other ad set, it's not doing so well. But by leveraging the post ID strategy, if one ad gets 10 comments in one ad set, those 10 comments are translated to every other single ad set because it's a master ad and it's you were using the
Mm.
post ID from the master ad. So then the ads that are taking off and getting tons of engagement, tons of comments, they get translated to every single ad set you're using and not just in that ad set where that ad used to live if it was on its own. So that means like you can get to a legacy ad much quicker. But in terms of results, it means that your ad fatigue is less of an issue because all of the goodness of your ads are translated across all of your ad sets, across all of your campaign, and your ads get a lot more mileage, which means You don't have to be running as much creative testing if you don't want to be, but also like the you're giving the platform what essentially what it wants, which they want to see your ads getting engagement. They want to see ad like they much prefer to have people stay on platform than rather than taking them off platform. So by getting ads with lots of engagement, lots of likes, comments, shares, and having that translate across all of your campaigns, that's giving Facebook, that's giving Meta what they want. And that means your CPMs are driven down. That means your cost per result is driven down. So then when you do take people off platform, you're doing it at a better cost than you would be if you weren't leveraging this strategy.
Wow. So let me make sure that I understand, right? Because, I'm like everybody else here. I'm learning as everybody else is learning about your methods, your strategies. So what you're ultimately saying is that if you have an ad that with this approach, if you have an ad that gets a tremendous amount of engagement, likes, comments, whatnot, you're actually able to leverage that engagement, those likes and comments across your other ads as well.
Across the other ads, if you're using if in this if it's this, like if you're using the same ad type in different ad sets.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Very cool,
And
man.
how
I
we do
dig
it,
that.
like we do it in, it's how it's done is it's done in the ad setup. So first we need to, instead of creating a new ad for each ad set, we use an existing post and we're using the post IDs from our master ad set. And then like, as you can see here, in the example, it's using, it's not a new ad. It's using the existing copy, the existing video, the existing headline from the previous ad that's created in the master ad set. So then like
Got it.
when someone comments on an ad in, say, ad set one, that comment is translated over to ad set two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, or whatever the case is. So then you
That's
get the
crazy.
engagement across every ad set in the campaign.
Wow. So you're able to you're able to test, find the winner, and then leverage the winner across the other ads
Yeah,
in terms of
exactly.
the engagement, in terms of the engagement. So you're able, so it's kind of like when you see folks running ads and they've got one ad, let's say that's doing really well in terms of engagement, and then they run another ad and there's no engagement on it, and another ad and there's no engagement on it. Here, you're able to leverage the engagement on that one ad across all the other ads.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. I dig it. Awesome. Very cool, man.
So the next one is when we're using campaign budget optimization. Something that we've recently started leveraging a lot. We start leveraging what we call it like a minimum ad spend on our ad set. So basically, there's two ways we can optimize budget. There's at the campaign level, which is at the top level, and then there's at the ad set level, which is at the ad set level. So we can either have individual budgets for each of our ad sets or we can set an overall campaign budget, and then Facebook will allocate the budget according to what they think will, which ads that they think will convert the best. And so, like, the really good thing about that is that Facebook allocates the budget towards the ad sets that they feel is going to get the best result. But the downside to that is if you're testing, Facebook may not allocate budget to your ad sets. So what we've started to leverage is something that is kind of buried in the settings of the ad campaign setup. Is down under budget and schedule. It's not. This doesn't actually show where it says ad set spending limits. This is hidden. And once you reveal this, you can actually set minimum budgets. If you're using campaign budget optimization, which a lot of our campaigns these days are, just because the algorithm is so smart, but you can actually set a minimum daily ad spend limit. So you can force Facebook to spend on your ad sets where you're doing your testing. Whereas in the past, you might be able to set a maximum, but there was no way to actually force Facebook to actually spend the money on your testing ad sets. Whereas now, let's say you have in this example, the minimum spend is 600 daily, which is 20% of the overall budget of the campaign. We want a minimum of 20% on our testing ad sets. So that's why we set it to 20%. But we've set it to a minimum of that to really to force Facebook to give these new testing creatives the best chance of success. Whereas if you don't have a minimum ad set spending limit set, Facebook may ignore your new creatives and only spend on your existing ones. So you're not really giving your newer creatives a fair test, so you can't judge them fairly. So by giving them a minimum spend, you're giving them the best shot of success.
Wow. Okay. So this is almost like a hack to force Facebook to really give your new creative the chance to perform. Whereas if you're not using this, then you're not really giving your new creative necessarily a full opportunity to perform. Is that a good way of saying it?
Yeah, and to give you like a perfect that's exactly it. And to give you a perfect example, so we have a client right now where we're leveraging this strategy and we've rolled out some new tests for them using our testing protocol. And like say for example, yesterday the new creatives that we're testing in the ad set where they live, they only spent like 200 of an overall budget of about $1,600. And even though and like but even though the cost per result on those testing ads was a lot lower than our main ad set. So the result is that these new testing ads are working a lot better than existing. So they're probably going to overtake them as our main ads in the future. But what we've done is we've added a minimum to that ad set now to force them to spend even more to see if we can get more juice from the orange.
Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy. One little setting. Crazy.
Yeah, it's great and it's buried. You like it's not there. When you go in there and you're setting up your campaign, you have to dig to find that setting. Which is very strange, but it is what it is, I suppose.
So it's
So
possible, real quick before you go on, John. So it's possible that if somebody that folks that don't know that hack or aren't using it or aren't using it properly, that they may be running tests and thinking that the test, the variation or variations aren't winners or losers, but that's not really accurate. It's that they haven't enabled Facebook or forced Facebook to give it to give it the chance that it needs in order to perform. Is that right?
yeah, that's correct. I mean, like in one way, you can look at it kind of both ways. You can look at it that in one way that if Facebook aren't allocating spend to it, they think it's not going to produce the result. But like the downside to just looking at it that way is that if you have existing creatives that you've running for months, say, and they've already spent a lot and generated a lot of results, Facebook is going to give them preference anyway over anything new you put in there. So by adding
Got
the
it.
minimum, you're giving yourself a better chance to see if these new creatives are as good as the existing ones or better. But if you don't have that minimum there, you may make a decision on new creatives that you're testing and not be looking at the full picture.
Got it. Makes total sense, man.
So let's jump into two for YouTube as well, because we covered, I would kind of wanted to give a mix between YouTube and Facebook, because I know people kind of flip-flop between the two platforms. So the first one is something that we've been doing for quite a while, and I thought it was kind of commonplace, but when like any of the latest clients that we've taken on that were running YouTube, none of them had this in place, and these are people that were spending significantly on YouTube, so maybe it's not as commonplace as I thought, which is excluding mobile apps and Google Display from your YouTube campaigns. So maybe about I don't know, maybe about 12, 18 months ago, you used to be able, in your campaign settings, when you were setting up your campaign, you used to be able to manually exclude mobile apps and third-party display sites when you were setting up your campaign. When you were setting up a skippable in-stream campaign where you were optimizing for conversions. Now, if you're running a video views campaign, you can still manually exclude mobile apps and Google Display. But when you're running a conversions campaign where you're looking to either generate leads or to generate sales or whatever the case may be, you can no longer exclude them from your campaign settings. So what you need to do is you need to go in after you've published a campaign, go into the content section of your campaign and go to exclusions. And then you have to manually, or you have to input these two particular exclusions to force Google to not show your video ads on apps and not show your video ads on display sites. So before I walk through what it is that you have to do, the reason why you don't want to show them on mobile apps and you don't want to show them on display sites is because you're running a skippable in-stream ad. The whole premise behind the skippable in-stream ad is that you're trying to convince someone to watch your video instead of watching the video that they're supposed to watch. Now, if they're playing in an app, they're playing Candy Crush or whatever it is, whatever app they're using, like the skippable in-stream, what makes it so powerful is gone because they're not about to watch another video. They're in the middle of doing whatever they're doing on the app, whether it's a game or whether it's a productivity tool or whatever it is. They're doing that on the app, and like the whole what makes it so powerful as a skippable in-stream ad that's nearly gone. So like we've always seen the results from those be nowhere near as good in terms of click-through rates, but also nowhere near as good as in terms of conversions when we've ran the on third-party apps. Secondly, with Google Display is that what we can't control if Google does show your skippable in-stream ad on a website that has videos embedded on it, is that you might get tons of impressions that's below the fold that nobody ever sees. So it's like,
Mm.
what's the point in having it? So we want to actually exclude mobile apps and Google Display. And like I said, you used to be able to do it in the campaign settings. You can no longer do it. So what we do is we exclude them by putting them in as exclusions after the fact. So to exclude mobile apps, you have to go to content, placement exclusions, and type in, it's a really random bit of text, but it's what you have to type in. Mobile app categories, semicolon, semicolon, 69500. That excludes all mobile apps. And then if you type in the website, Google AdSense underscore without underscore YouTube.com, that'll exclude all third-party sites because any AdSense site that is running videos that are embedded, the URL that content is saved on is that URL. So by adding those two as exclusions, no YouTube can't serve your video on any site with that, and plus it can't serve it on any app because of those two things. And we've just anytime we don't have these things on, we see our cost per conversions go up, whether that's leads or sales or whatever the case is. And any times we do have these exclusions on, we see them come down. So we just always use them as default.
Wow, that's crazy, man. And so I just want to point something out. Forget the fact that, what an awesome, just quick, simple, actionable hack for everybody. You just mentioned that the CPA CPA goes up when you don't have these in there, right? And so I just want to go back real quick before you go to the second YouTube odds enhancer, that right, that this goes back to what John and I talked about in one of our previous episodes, if you will, or calls. And that is that changes the whole economics, right? One little thing here could radically change the economics in your campaign, meaning that, right, meaning that you escalate the cost per acquisition, right? And now maybe the cost per acquisition is out of KPI with your average order value, or if you're being more aggressive, your lifetime value or your 1 week value or your 30-day value, right? Now, because of one setting, right, your economics could be out of whack. And for a lot of marketers and entrepreneurs that don't understand this, they can turn off the campaign. In other words, they can decide that campaign is no longer viable. But it's really not even a marketing performance issue. It is a media buying issue. And ultimately, in this case, it is due to one setting, one simple setting. And so really, really important that one simple setting could have a significant enough economic impact on your campaign, enough to potentially, for some that don't know, turn off the campaign. When they really have a viable campaign from a marketing performance perspective, they just need to tweak things on the media buying side, specifically in this example, these exclusions. And so anything that you would add to that little spiel that I just gave?
I think I'd only add that like these are things that we add nearly as a default now, and like I would encourage people to add them as a default themselves. But like you said, it's like it comes down to having the necessary tools when you need to optimize wherever you need to optimize. So like obviously we have the media performance side, the marketing performance, and on the economic side as well. So like these are hacks that you can use if on the media performance side of things you're not hitting your KPIs. Now, am I saying that if you are hitting your KPIs on the media side of things that you don't use these things? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like to use the tool, use the right tool for the job when you need it, but also always have best practices in place as well. Because like otherwise, like if you can get lower costs, get lower costs. But like understand that like it's we also have to optimize at the right stage for the right thing and not just be doing things willy-nilly. So we always like we always say we always tackle the like diagnose the problem, get to the root of the problem, and then fix that problem, not just like fixing things, willy-nilly.
Right. So ultimately identify the constraint in the campaign and then address the constraint. And like you said, and I just want to touch on it again because it's at the foundation of everything that you do, everything that we do, which is that there is the marketing performance side of things, there is the media buying performance side of things, and then there's the economics. And so you have to know, like, when there is an issue with a campaign, right? When a campaign isn't working, whether it's because the CPA is too high, AOV is too, right? You have to properly identify the constraint. And first, you have to identify the category of the constraint. Is it marketing performance? Is it on the media buying side, or is it the economics? And so, very cool, man. But continue.
So the last one is in terms of the your audience targeting. So this is something that we use a lot, and one of our for our clients that are running on YouTube, and not all of our clients are running on YouTube, but for our clients that are running on YouTube, this targeting option almost always is the winner long term. And it's basically the custom URL targeting. And again, this is something that I thought was commonplace and used a lot, but from people I speak to, from other agency owners that I've spoken to, from clients that we've worked with that have been running previously, this is something that they're not really leveraging a lot. So one of the beautiful things about YouTube ads and Google ads in general is the vast array of targeting options available to you. So we have affinity audiences, which are essentially like interests. We have like in-market audiences, which are essentially Google have created audiences of people who are in the market of either they're in the market to purchase or they have purchased these things. So they're essentially creating buyer audiences for you. But one of the other things that is really powerful about Google, which you can't do on Facebook, is you can create your own audiences based on certain things. Whether you can create this one here, which is URL targeting. So you can create audiences of people who have visited certain websites, and then you can target them, or you can get a layer deeper, which is you can create an audience of people that have logged in to a certain platform. So let's say you wanted to target the ClickPhones users, you might target the URL clickphones.com/login or whatever their login is. So then you know people that are visiting that URL, they're users of ClickFunnels, or they've used the platform in the past, or whatever the case is. So you're just getting a layer deeper with your targeting. And how Google has this information is because of Google Analytics being installed on something like 53% of websites worldwide. So they have the data. So they know the people that are visiting these sites versus not visiting these sites. So we can be very targeted. So then we like to use the custom URL targeting audience. So we would like create an audience of our clients' competitors, parallel competitors. So let's say I have an example here, which is in the tennis space, like a tennis, let's say it's a tennis coach. We'd make a list of the tennis coach competitors, but then we'd also make a list of the tennis e-commerce brands. They're not necessarily a direct competitor, but they're what we call them like a parallel competitor. They're buying other things that similar to what you might be selling. So in a similar space in terms of like equipment or whatever the case is and stuff like that. So we make these lists, and then we either bunch them together at the beginning, but if there's lots and lots of competitors, we create individual ones. And what it allows us to do is like essentially like it comes back to the top of your pyramid when it comes to direct response, which is your audience. You know you're getting the right audience. Like you know you're going to be targeting the right people. So then if you can nail your message and you can nail your offer, you're getting the right message for an amazing offer in front of the right audience. And like custom URL targeting just enables you to ensure that you're like almost always targeting the right people.
I love it, man. I love it. Crazy little hack to make sure that the audience is dialed, right? Like, and we know that in direct response, right? It starts with the audience, like audience first. It's typically, list offer copy. In this context, list being the audience, being who you are targeting and targeting effectively. And so super, super cool, man. I'm grateful, dude, that you shared these with me, with everybody. I know you said that this is 4 of 12 or 13 or 14. And I know you're constantly testing stuff to find additional odds, enhancers, man. Beautiful. So for those folks out there, like I'm lucky enough to have you run all of our paid media, right? To have you run all of our paid media for our portfolio companies. But so for everybody else, I know I always ask you this. how do they get in touch with you, man? If they see this and they're like, man, I don't even know how to stay on top of all this stuff. Like, how do they get in touch with you, man, to find out what's involved in you running all their paid online advertising?
Yeah, so but before I share that, I'll say one thing you just mentioned. How do I stay up on top of this? And the good news is you don't necessarily have to stay on top of it. You can have someone do it for you, and we can absolutely do it for you, and we can handle it all for you. So you don't have to be worrying about all these different things. You don't have to be learning how to implement these. We can implement it all for you. And like that's the beautiful thing about working with an agency, whether it's us or whether it's someone else. Like you get to take one thing off your plate so you can focus on what you do best. So if anybody's out there listening to this or watching this and like to find out about how we could potentially help them, they can simply go to e5agency.com, which is the letter E, the number five, agency.com. You'll find out a little bit about how we can help you, and you'll be able to book a call if you see so fit. And I'll walk you through exactly how we can help you, and we'll have a look at your existing campaigns. We'll have a look at what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, where the opportunity to scale is. If there's some things that you're not doing that you could be doing to maybe unlock lower costs or a higher AOV or whatever the case may be, we'll go through that on our call, and then we'll walk you through what it means to work with the agency if you're interested, and if you're not, no problem. And if you are, fantastic, and we'll knock it out of the park for you, hopefully. And one thing I'll say as well is I'll maybe tease it because we're very close to having it ready. Is we're going to have something ready in the next couple of weeks, maybe sooner, that that we're rolling out that we're really excited about in the agency. We have a something that I think is badly needed that we have coming, and it's going to help a lot of people, and like I'm super excited to get it out.
You open looped everybody. You open looped everybody. You cliffhangered it. I love it, man. I know I wasn't going to bring it up because I wasn't sure if you were ready to share with everybody, and so I'm glad you kind of teased it. But awesome call, dude. Love the tactical stuff. I know that we're going to do some more tactical stuff, a bunch more tactical stuff in future calls, and we've got some fun stuff planned for our upcoming calls together. And so I love it, man. We're going to keep sharing with everybody kind of how you approach and think about media buying and how you're able to have so many freaking winning campaigns for so many different people, man. And so I love it. Again, e5agency.com, right? .com. Did I say that?
Yeah, .com.
e5agency.com to learn more about John. And we will see you next week, everybody. So take care, all.